Hey guys, it's South African Chris here from New Zealand. Let me just adjust my camera a bit so you can actually see me. Right, there we go. So, yeah, we're back again today. It is the 10th of December. So, today we'll hopefully get some response back from the FDA on Pfizer, on their vaccine, the COVID vaccine. So, that'll be interesting to watch. I've got a few items here on my watch list as well that we'll go through. And then I'm running my stock scanner from my custom software called Market Investor Pro to see what we're going to trade today. Now, while that's scanning in the background, let's see what happened in the last day. Some terrible things happened to me. You can see I'm currently at minus $1,786. And if I just run a quick update on this, let's see. No, don't do that. Why is this thing complaining? Anyway, so we can see if I run the current prices, that's even worse, right? So $1,808 in the minus. Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. I've taken some profit on Pfizer, so $1,637 there. It took me a whole of 20 days, which is close to eternity in my trading strategy terms, because I'm a day trader, so I generally like to buy stocks and get rid of them within a week if I can. When it runs over 10 days, it tends to be a bit much, but this was my one and only fundamental trade in a while. Otherwise I use technical indicators purely to base my trades on. I've also taken a profit on Appian Corporation, which is the one that I noted on Monday, so made $1,000 profit on that one, so it's not too bad. So overall the profit is good. The current losses are a little bit in the high end, higher than usual for me, but if we deduct that from the profit taken, we're still in the plus. So now it's all about managing our losses and making sure that we don't get shot in the foot. Now, I said that if Coupa Software tanks any further, that I'll just cut my losses and take that as cost of business and move on. But I'm a stickler for pain, so I'm going to hang on to that a little bit, and I'm going to hope that we see a little bit of some positive spin here. Basically because the stochastics is just above that oversold line, and I'm hoping we see a similar trend as we saw here towards the end of October. And you know, we can see that it went from overbought heading towards oversold, but then turned back down to overbought again. So I'm hoping that we get a similar oversold here at the bottom. So that's when we buy. So oversold, heading towards overbought, but then turn back down. So I'm hoping we get a similar trend here, because it seems like we're heading down again, and hopefully that brings us up, which means I'll have to hang on to that stock a bit longer. Another worry, a big concern for me, is we can see on the MACD we've got this blue line heading for an intersection with the signal line, which is the red one, and that usually means we're going into a bearish trend, which could mean further losses on this one. So I'm really between a rock and a hard place on Coupa Software. My head says cut your losses and move on. My heart says wait another day. If those two lines touch, then I'm going to sell. So I'm going to keep my eye on this. Normally I don't do intraday trading, I do day trading, but tonight I'll be awake so that I can see what's happening in the US stock market. It's still yesterday in the US stock markets. You can see here at the bottom right on the on my EST timer little thingy. Right, so that's Coupa Software. Shitty times, to be honest. On Fleet Car Technologies, I did buy stocks in this one too. That has also gone down. It hasn't reached my stop loss alarm yet, which is set at $273 at the moment, but it's heading there. It's actually very close. It's on the limit really. So that's 273.62, and I've set mine at 273.87. So anytime soon that'll get triggered as well, and I'll have to make a decision. So if we look at this one, Fleet Car, we can see that it is actually on the overbought level. There's a big gap and a bullish trend on the MACD, which tells me all the indicators says this should be running a profit, but it's not, right? I'm losing money. So again, you know, I'm going to let it go a little bit. If it hits the trigger, I'll just cut my losses. It's rather than making a smaller loss than a bigger loss, a greater loss, you know. Infi, same story. Not a good day, not a good day at all for anything. We can see that there was this little bit of a doji candle there, and then we've got a little bit of a bearish pin there on the candle, and then a sudden downturn in the stochastic. So let's hope that kind of picks up a little bit. We can see there's been similar previous trends as well. So let's see what happens. Also heading for a potential intersection here, maybe not tomorrow, but perhaps the day after on the stochastic. So it's all doom and gloom, which is good in terms of educational purposes, because that shows you it's not always winning. When we look at the previous month here of November, you can see lots of wins, right? It was a really good month. I had lots of wins, lots of profit there, and I was hoping that December is going to do the same for me, but so far it's been quite tough, to be honest. Okay, so I see my scanner has stopped, and that's probably because I broke something. So let me close that, and while we're talking, let me run the current price updater again. I think when I run it simultaneously with the market scanner, I get problems. Anyway, so we've got Whirlpool here, similar story. We were hoping for a better picture. If we look at the historical indicators, it all looked good. I did say that the MACD is a bit bearish, but we were hoping that we head above that 50 line on the RSI. But what happened in reality... One second, while my software is giving me problems. What happened in reality was that it did not. It actually turned back down again. So it found a bit of a resistance here on that midline at this stage. But it's still below the oversold level, heading towards overbought. So let's hope today we see some good news on Whirlpool. Again, I'm going to cut my losses on these bad performing stocks. Once they hit below 0 and start running a loss, then either I cut the loss or I hope for it to get back close as possible to 0, and then I'll cut it. If I don't make a profit, that's okay. Just minimize the losing streak. One that was good was Stitch Fix. We made $733 there, so the system does work. We did make some profit there, and that's good. The other one that I went into, which I said I normally don't like to do, was healthcare. Remember, we spoke about industries, so if we just open up the Google machine here, if we look at Sector Spider as one example, what I normally do is I like to look at the current sector trends. So from Sector Spider, you can look at the different trends here, and you'll see we've got industrials, here we've got communications, healthcare. And if I select healthcare, we can see how that performs compared to the S&P 500. The S&P 500 in black and the healthcare in blue. And you can see currently it is a little bit below, but underperforming in comparison to that S&P 500. And on finviz.com, I go to groups usually, and I look at the 1 day, but more importantly the 1 week and the 1 month performance, and you'll see that healthcare is not the worst, but it's also not the best on the 1 month. It's actually fairly towards the bottom there, still in the green though. So but you can see yesterday everything in red, so I think we've had a pretty bad day all over. It's not just me. Let's hope today goes better and we get a bit of a turnaround here. Alright, enough of that. Let's run the stock finder again. So I've set my parameters as a $40 minimum close value, 2,500 maximum close. Volumes greater than 500,000. I'm looking back 2 days for values where the stochastics is near that bottom 30 line, so above 20 but below 34. I want stacked EMAs. That's the EMA 18, the EMA 50, the EMA 100, the EMA 150, and the SMA 200. The SMA 150 and the SMA 200. And then I want minimum ATR in this case of 5. So that's the average true range. I'm going to hit find, and this will scan through 7,180 stocks. So let's leave that be, and we'll look at what we come back once it's finished. Before I put you on pause, just note that I've added a couple of additional stocks here. So Discovery Inc., Cummins Inc. and BlackRock Inc. Right, now these ones weren't picked up by a stock scanner. They were actually picked up by another deep learning program that I'm working on. So I've got this stock prediction utility that I've developed here, and what it does is it will fetch data on stocks, and it will run a deep learning process on it, machine learning or deep learning, using AI principles, and it will tell me whether to buy, sell, or hold on stock. But I've built and worked on another deep learning one that compares all of the stocks in the exchanges with NASDAQ and NYSE to the S&P 500. It looks at about 15 years of historical data, and it looks at trends and stuff, and it does all sorts of smart things. And it comes up with a list, and it tells you which stocks it thinks will outperform by 10% or greater in the next few days. Will outperform the S&P 500, and these are the ones that I've shortlisted. So they're Discovery, Cummins, and BlackRock. We'll talk about that in a bit. Let's wait for the stock scanner to run through all of these, and then we'll go through those. Okay, so we've scanned through our list, and from 7,180 stocks we found 19. So I'm going to be running through a couple of these. We see first of all here AON. This is one that I've done before, and having a quick look at that, we can see stochastics not yet at the level where it's turning back up. There was quite a lengthy downtrend here on the stochastics during early October, and we see a bit of a gap on the MACD. It definitely looks bullish. I'll keep it on the watch list, but not my favorite stock, to be honest. Avalara, let's see this one. So we've got the stacked EMAs, candles looking not too bad. Stochastics not looking great. MACD not looking good. No thanks. That's not going to happen today. We've done Costco before. I think it turned out well. I'll have to go and dig back up in the archives. But we do see a crossover on the MACD. It's within 5 days. So based on that, I'm going to skip straight ahead. I'm going to run through all of these, and once I've got a short list, I'll just give you an update of those and let you know which ones I'm going for today. Okie dokie, so we're done through all of those. So for today, there's a couple I'm looking at. So first, let's look at the ones that we've highlighted from before. So Dollar General Corporation. This one, the stochastics, looks like we're turning back. I'm going to wait for it to cross over that 30 baseline there before I act, so we'll just keep it in there. On renewable energy, it has crossed back. The MACD looking a little bit bearish and not a huge gap there. The RSI also is not overly confident, so I'll keep it there just to watch and see what happens for educational purposes really, but I don't think I'm going to get into that one. On health equity, nope, I'm going to actually remove this one from my list. It looks a little bit crappy. Ulta Beauty, so let's see what's happening here. Not quite the turn back yet on the stochastics, getting there, so we'll keep that in the watch list. We've got this McPherson Corporation, which is one that I've actually bought and running a loss at it currently. Great. So we'll just keep it there and keep watching that it doesn't exceed my maximum allowable loss ratio. Discovery was one that the AI came up with. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. You can see it has actually performed quite well. I wish I got in here early November, late October, because it looked like this one actually did quite well. Yeah, we'll just keep that in the watch list. I'm not sure I want to get into this one right now, but we'll just keep it there. Cummins Inc. So yeah, looking good, turning up there on the stochastics. The MACD though quite bearish, so we might actually see a bit based on the RSI turning back up. It either might hit this mid 50 line here and find a resistance there, or it might turn back up and we might see that it crosses over that signal line. I might get into this one. We can see previous bounces off of the EMA 50, and this time it dipped a little bit below that, so maybe we could see some uptrend here. This might be one that I would get into, so I'm gonna buy into this one, but I'm gonna halve the trade. So when my automatic position sizing tool says 50, I'm gonna go for 25 just to half that risk there on this particular one. And the last one from the AI was BlackRock Inc. So still heading down in the stochastics. I'll wait a little bit before I get into this one, but definitely one I would want to view. And the same with Discovery. I'm going to mark this one too, because we might want to get into that later. Alright, AON. So let's look at the indicators. We've seen some heavy dips here in the past, which means there is definitely potential for massive fail there and loss. We've also haven't reached the correct level on the stochastics yet, so we'll keep it. HubSpot, same story, not ready yet, but might be in the next day or two. If we look at Lululemon Athletica, same story, heading down but not yet seeing the upturn, so it's looking like I might not have too much to trade today. Same story here with MicroStrategy Incorporated. All the signs are good. I'm just waiting for that stochastics to make a turnaround and head back up. And finally the same here for, what have we got, Willis Towers Watson. So all good stocks on the list, but the only ones that I'm going for today is Cummins Inc. The rest I'm just going to keep on my list and monitor them as we go. I'll probably get into Ulta Beauty fairly soon, maybe tomorrow, or even later tonight if I see a little bit of an uptrend there happening. So you can see, in fact, I think I'm going to take a risk on this one, assuming that we've hit the low on the stochastic. So on second thought, I'm actually going to get into this one with Ulta Beauty. So let's do that. 41 going in full. So there we go. There is our trade. And you'll see a negative value here in Cummins. That's just because I haven't run the current price through yet. But once we do, that should all be good. And I see that I've used the wrong price here also. It should be 275.50, which is the price that we bought it in. So I'll just chuck that in there. And there we go. So for today, it's CMI and Ulta. Alright, trade safe. And as you can see, it's a risky business. So do your research. Use my advice and what I'm doing here just as an indicator. But do your own investigations and analysis on stocks. And safe trading. Cheers.